Okay, so I've asked Hilal to talk a little bit about her recent experiences interviewing. She's gone on three job interviews in the past couple of months in the Dallas area, I think, all three. So, so how was the experience? Good, bad?
It was good. So I interviewed for El Centro College in downtown Dallas, Collin County. Oh, I've had four. Collin County, both for the non-credit side and the credit side, and for the American Learning Institute, yes. So the El Centro one, first I had the 101 interview with the supervisor for ESOL division, and she had a few questions for me that asked about how I am a good fit for the job, my previous experience, and the questions included more on the classroom applications. Like she gave me scenarios. How would you get these students to do homework? How would you get these students to listen? What would you do if any of them were, displaying problematic attitudes in the classroom? So, but I was lucky because I have actually worked as an ESL and EFL teacher before, so I knew I didn't have to just devise the answers. I knew from experience what I would do and the best ways to do those things. So at El Centro, after the first interview, they called me back for the teaching demonstration, and the entire department was there acting as my students. I had to prepare a lesson and teach that lesson. Like I said, they acted like students, level appropriate. So they were supposed to be, I believe, pre-intermediate learners. So they would ask questions like that. Yeah, it all went well. I got the job. I've been teaching there for this semester now.
So were there any surprising questions that you weren't expecting?
I don't think there were, no, because, in the applied linguistics lab, we do mock interviews whenever somebody's up for a job interview. So I was well prepared for everything. With my experience and with the help from the faculty and my fellow students, I was well prepared. So for the non-credit side of Collin College, I went for the interview, and there I found that continuing education is closer to my actual experience back home teaching EFL. The books they were using were more similar. The structure they were following with the students was much more similar than at El Centro, the credit side. That went also really well. The questions were surprisingly similar. Again, how would you get the students to pay attention? How would you get them to do the work? How would you address any problems that you face in the classroom, etc. But there, my education, like this higher level of education, helped because we got to talking about teaching approaches and the best way to engage the learners and everything. And at the end, they praised how they never get to speak with candidates on the academic side of things, and with me that was a possibility. So that went well. They offered me the job, but I went home instead, so I didn't take it. And for the credit side of Collin, the interview and the demo. So okay, at the non-credit side, they offered me the job without a teaching demo. At the credit side, the teaching demo and the interview were together. I was gonna have 3 members of the department present, but one of them couldn't make it. I later met him at the Texas CESOL State Conference, so that shows to, how important it is to network and go to these events. Anyway, so at the Collin College interview, I first did the demo teaching, and again, the committee members were acting as level appropriate learners. It went well, it went great. They were impressed, I could tell. And then the questions they asked were, again, about my suitability to the position, how I would teach different things. There was one different question that I really liked. They asked me how I could be different from other candidates they might have for the position. And there I was able to say, you know, I am an international student. English is my second language, so I know what it is like to learn this language. So as I teach it, I'm better able to draw from experience what it's like to teach these people, and stuff like that. So lastly, the one at the American Learning Institute, it was for the director position. And again, luckily, I had some experience under my belt regarding that position also, because back home where I was teaching at the private language school, over the years, I had started to get some administrative roles as well, such as proficiency testing when the students come in, or the recruitment of native English speakers, etc., or devising the curriculum, planning for the lessons, picking course books, or adjusting them to our specific needs at the institution, such as the time frame we had, or the different, you know, the 3-level system, etc., etc. So that came in handy, especially because it turns out they were at the stage of choosing a new course book. So the person, it was a single person that was interviewing me. The owner was out of the country or out of town. Was very excited to see I had actually done that twice before, choosing a new course book and making sure that the adjustment, the transition is smooth. So that went also really well. And they were also really interested in my academic abilities because they had collected a lot of data from students on their readiness when they come in, and the progress they had made in the institution during their time in the institution. So they had collected all that data and they didn't know what to do with it. And, you know, me being able to use SPSS, this statistics program, and, you know, how to really work with data and how to show the difference, etc.
Were you aware of this fact before going into the
Not
interview?
at all.
So that came up during the interview?
Yes, it did. But luckily I was prepared.
That's very important, by the way, because it shows how you may need to sort of pivot your, you know, well, I mean, you probably didn't put in your letter of application, oh, and by the way, I can do SPSS on any data you have laying around. But the moment they mention having data laying around, you say, oh, what a coincidence, you know, I love to you know.
I can actually show you if what you've taught the learners have been significant or not. Yeah, so with that job, it went really well. That the interview went really well. I really liked everything. But because I'm an international candidate, I need to first hear from USCIS and get the work permit, and then we're gonna hopefully move forward, but I don't know yet.
So any, any surprising questions or moments or anything catch you off guard or you weren't expecting?
Well, across the board for all 4 interviews, what was most pleasantly surprising is maybe 5 minutes into the interview, it turned into, I'm already their colleague, now let's talk about what we can do together. So I think applying for a job that you're well fitted for matters a lot, because they are really happy to see someone well qualified, has the experience, and they're excited to talk about possibilities. So that was the most surprising thing. You know, in any of those things, I didn't feel like I was being judged or I was on trial or anything like that. It was like, okay, we would love to have you. Let's talk. We will talk to you that way, and I talked to them back that way. So it was really nice.
Any questions?
I have 2 for you. The first would be, I'm a U.S. citizen, so I've only ever done job application stuff here, but was there anything about the application process, whether the stuff you had to submit or the interview process, that maybe you didn't know because you
you've worked, I guess, as a TA on campus, but was there anything, tips you've learned as an international candidate about the American hiring system that you would want to pass on?
Yeah, so for positions like this back home, meaning, they're not tenure track like university jobs. These are adjuncting positions or director's positions. For positions like that in Turkey, you wouldn't write a letter of application. Here you do, but I wasn't caught off guard because, like I said, I was prepared by the lab to expect those things. But that's the one difference I can name. Does that answer your question? Okay.
The second is in the teaching demo. Did they tell you what they wanted that to be on, or did they just say you'll have 30 minutes, you bring your A game on some topic? What was that they asked for you to do?
That's a good question. I saw both. So for Colin, the one with the teaching demo, they gave me 3 options to pick from. With El Centro, it was, up to me.
Yeah, that's generally true. I've had the whole range where they say, you will teach Bob's class, here's the syllabus, here's the lecture that you need to provide, have fun, to pick a topic and, surprise us, kind of deal. So the whole gamut of the range, what they say, we want a lecture on syntax, we want a lecture on, SLA, pick a topic, or we want a lecture on, something very, very specific, or as I said, they literally have you teach the class, and that's the worst, because there may be things on the syllabus that you're like, what in heaven's name is this, right? Because you're teaching Bob's class suddenly, and you don't know what they've done, you don't know what they've read, so, but of course, you smile and you do it anyway.
Oh, and one thing I've been wanting to say is all of our professors emphasized how it's important to network and use our faculty members as a resource. 3 out of those 4 jobs came through Dr. Pickering and Dr. Otardo. Even though I've been using almost all of those websites, the jobs I do have still came from them.
All right, thank you, we really appreciate it. So, you have a question, sir?
Did you get any questions pertaining to your dissertation or future research? This is a teaching position.
At the community colleges, at Colin and El Centro, they didn't ask about my dissertation, but at the director's position at the American Learning Institute, they did. So I gave the brief elevator pitch, and it was more like a courtesy question. I felt like it wasn't really relevant, but they did ask. Yeah.
All right, very good.
Okay. Thank you.